Most men lose women not because they aren't attractive enough, successful enough, or confident enough, but because they say the wrong things at the moments that matter most. And what's dangerous is this: they don't even realize the moment has passed until she starts pulling away, replying slower, looking elsewhere, and eventually telling herself a story where leaving feels justified. This video is not about tricks, lines, or manipulation. It's about something far more uncomfortable and far more powerful: the psychological moments where attachment is either formed or destroyed. If you've ever wondered why one man can say very little and still leave a permanent imprint, while another says everything right and gets forgotten, this is why you need to listen closely. Because attraction is not logical, it is neurological. And once a woman's nervous system associates you with safety, presence, certainty, and freedom, something irreversible happens. Her standards change, her perception shifts, and comparison quietly stops. Most people will never tell you this because it requires accountability. It requires emotional discipline. It requires becoming someone instead of performing as someone. But if you understand what actually creates loyalty, not control, not jealousy, not intensity, you stop chasing outcomes and start shaping connection. What you are about to hear challenges nearly everything you've been taught about intimacy, masculinity, and bonding. It explains why being nice fails, why being dominant without depth collapses, and why the men who are remembered rarely speak the loudest. This is not content you casually consume. This is perspective that forces reflection. Stay until the end, because if you miss even one layer of this, you will repeat the same cycle with different faces. And once you see this clearly, you won't be able to unsee it. Most people misunderstand what emotional safety actually is. They think it means being nice, agreeable, harmless. It doesn't. Emotional safety is not softness. It is stability. It is the quiet confidence that tells a woman, without asking for permission, you can relax here. And that feeling, more than attraction, more than excitement, more than chemistry, is what bonds a woman at a level she doesn't consciously control. Here's the uncomfortable truth: a woman may desire excitement from many men, but she is imprints on the one who regulates her nervous system. When she is emotionally open, when her guard is down, when she is fully present, her brain is not analyzing words logically. It is recording sensations, tone, certainty, and emotional grounding. In those moments, safety becomes seductive, not because it is boring, but because it is rare. Most men talk to be liked. They speak from anxiety. They say what they think will keep her. That energy is felt instantly. Emotional safety comes from the opposite place. It comes from a man who is not negotiating for connection, but eyes offering containment. A man who knows who he is, what he feels, and where he stands. When you speak from that place, your words slow her down. Her body responds before her mind does. This is why what you say in emotionally charged moments matters more than anything you say on a date. Compliments are forgettable. Promises are cheap. But a grounded sentence delivered with certainty lands like an anchor. It tells her, I see you as you are, and I'm not overwhelmed by it. That message hits deep because many women have spent their lives managing other people's emotions. When she doesn't have to manage yours, she relaxes into attachment. Emotional safety is also about consistency of identity. You don't change your tone to match her moods. You don't perform empathy. You embody it. You listen without trying to fix. You respond without defensiveness. That steadiness teaches her nervous system that closeness with you does not equal chaos. Over time, her body begins to associate peace with your presence. That association is powerful. It is the foundation of loyalty. And here's where most people get it wrong. Emotional safety does not mean emotional transparency without structure. Dumping feelings, oversharing fears, or seeking reassurance does not create safety. It creates responsibility. Safety comes from emotional leadership. You acknowledge emotions without being consumed by them. You validate without losing authority. You care without chasing. That balance is what signals maturity. When a woman feels emotionally safe with a man, she doesn't feel controlled, she feels chosen. There is a difference. Control creates rebellion, safety creates devotion. She doesn't stay because she has to, she stays because leaving feels like losing alignment. And alignment is addictive. Notice how this has nothing to do with manipulation. You are not saying magic words to trap someone. You are becoming the kind of man whose presence calms rather than confuses. Words are only effective when they are congruent with your inner state. If your tone, timing, and intent are grounded, even simple sentences carry weight. If they are not, no script in the world will work. This is why emotional safety is the ultimate turn on. Not because it is dramatic, but because it is as rarely sustained. Many men can spark attraction. Very few can maintain emotional regulation under intimacy. And the one who can becomes unforgettable, not by force, but by imprint. So reflect on this. Are your words trying to hold her, or are they allowing her to rest? Because the man she rests with is the man she bonds to. And once a woman bonds at that level, attraction stops wandering and starts deepening. Once emotional safety is established, something even more decisive comes into play, and that is presence, not attention, not effervescence. Most people think they are present because they are physically there, because they are listening, because they are responding. But real presence is rarer than that. Presence is when your mind is not elsewhere, your ego is not performing, and your nervous system is settled enough that the other person can feel it. A woman can sense in seconds whether you are truly there or just waiting for your turn to speak. Performance is noisy. Presence is quiet. Performance tries to impress. Presence allows impact. When a man is present, he does not rush his words, he does not fill silence out of discomfort, and he does not need to prove his value. His stillness becomes the message. And in moments of intimacy, stillness is far more powerful than intensity. It creates depth rather than stimulation. Psychologically, presence signals self-regulation. It tells her that you are not ruled by impulse or insecurity. Philosophically, it communicates something even deeper. It says you are at home within yourself. People are drawn to that because most of us spend our lives slightly displaced, slightly anxious, slightly incomplete. When someone stands firmly in themselves, it gives others permission to do the same. This is why women often lose interest in men who try too hard in intimate moments. Over-explaining, over-talking, over-affirming are not signs of care. They are signs of inner chaos. Presence, on the other hand, is clean. It is one thought at a time, one sentence at a time. You speak because it matters, not because silence makes you uncomfortable. When you are present, your words land differently. The same sentence spoken from distraction feels empty. Spoken from presence, it feels intentional. And intention is felt, not heard. A woman responds to the energy behind the words more than the words themselves. She is not falling for your phrasing. She is responding to your state of being. This is where many men misunderstand intimacy. They think the goal is to create a reaction, to say something clever, deep, or emotionally charged, but reactions fade. What lasts is resonance. Resonance happens when your internal state aligns with the moment, when you are fully in the experience rather than trying to shape it. That alignment creates memory, and memory is what attachment grows from. Presence also requires courage. It means you are willing to be seen without hiding behind charm, humor, or bravado. You allow pauses. You let emotions rise and fall without interrupting them. You trust that you do not need to control the moment to remain valued. That level of trust in yourself is rare, and rarity creates gravity. There is also a discipline to presence. It means noticing when your mind drifts into outcome, wondering if she is impressed, wondering if you are doing enough. The moment you enter outcome, you leave presence, and she feels the shift immediately. The practice is simple but demanding. Return to the moment, return to your breath, return to the truth of what you are feeling without editing it for approval. When a woman experiences a man who is deeply present with her, She experiences something unfamiliar. She feels met rather than managed. She feels engaged without being consumed. Over time, that experience becomes a reference point. Other interactions start to feel thin, rushed, or performative by comparison, not because those men are bad, but because presence recalibrates her standards. This is why presence beats performance every time. Performance seeks validation. Presence creates connection. Performance is exhausting to maintain. Presence is sustainable because it comes from authenticity rather than effort. And in long-term attraction, sustainability matters more than intensity. So here is the reflection to leave with. Stop asking what you should say and start asking where you are speaking from. Because when you are fully present, the right words tend to arrive on their own. And when they do, they don't just get heard, they get remembered. Once presence is established, the dynamic naturally shifts into something most men misunderstand and quietly sabotage, and that is emotional claiming. The phrase alone makes people uncomfortable because they confuse it with control, ownership, or insecurity. But emotional claiming, when done correctly, has nothing to do with taking something away from a woman. It is about standing firmly in how you experience her, without asking for permission, without shrinking, and without needing reassurance in return. Begging repels because it communicates uncertainty. Claiming attracts because it communicates certainty. Psychologically, human beings orient themselves around those who are sure of their inner position. A man who does not know where he stands invites confusion. A man who knows exactly how he feels and is not afraid to express it calmly creates clarity, and clarity is deeply comforting. Here is the key distinction. Neediness asks, do you feel the same? Emotional leadership says, this is how I experience you. One is seeking validation. The other is offering truth. Women respond far more strongly to truth than to persuasion. When you speak from grounded certainty, you are not asking her to choose you. You are allowing her to respond to who you already are. This is where many men collapse into performance again. They soften their words. They hedge their statements. They add disclaimers to avoid rejection, but hedging weakens impact. Emotional claiming requires clean language and emotional responsibility. You are not demanding anything from her. You are simply stating your position and letting it stand. That alone communicates strength. From a psychological perspective, this matters because attraction thrives on polarity. Polarity does not mean dominance in the crude sense. It means contrast. It means one person is stable enough to hold a position while the other is free to respond authentically. When a man abandons his position to chase agreement, polarity collapses. When he holds it calmly, polarity intensifies. Emotional claiming also signals self-worth. You are not afraid that expressing how you feel will make you disposable. You trust that your experience has value, regardless of the outcome. That trust is felt instantly. And when a woman senses that a man would still respect himself even if she walked away, her perception of his value increases. This does not mean emotional coldness. It does not mean withholding affection. It means your affection is as anchorous, not scattered. You are warm without being porous. You are expressive without being dependent. That balance is rare, and rarity creates desire. There is also a philosophical layer here. To claim emotionally is to take responsibility for your inner world. You are not outsourcing your sense of worth to another person's response. You are not saying, I feel this because you made me feel it. You are saying, this is my experience and I own it. Ownership is power. Blame is weakness. When a woman encounters a man who claims his emotional reality without apology, it changes the dynamic. She no longer feels responsible for regulating his feelings. She can relax into her own. That relaxation deepens connection. It also creates trust because she knows where he stands. Ambiguity creates anxiety. Certainty creates safety. This is why emotional claiming never sounds desperate when done correctly. It is delivered without urgency, without pressure, without expectation. You are not trying to lock her in. You are simply standing in your truth, and paradoxically, that is what makes her lean in. Over time, this kind of emotional leadership creates loyalty not through fear of loss, but through alignment. She chooses you not because she feels trapped, but because the connection feels clean and grounded. Other options begin to feel noisy, uncertain, or performative by comparison. Here is the reflection to sit with. Stop trying to be chosen. Start choosing from a place of self-respect. Because when a man calmly claims his emotional position, he becomes someone a woman doesn't feel pushed by, but rather are drawn toward. At this stage, the final distinction becomes critical because it determines whether everything you have built turns into devotion or resistance. This is the difference between making a woman feel irreplaceable and trying to possess her. Possession suffocates, irreplaceability liberates, and most men lose the woman not because they care too little, but because they care in the wrong way. Possession comes from fear. It is driven by the anxiety of loss. It watches, monitors, compares, and controls. Even when it is subtle, it is felt. A woman may tolerate it for a while, but her spirit pulls away long before her body does. Irreplaceability comes from confidence. It does not need to restrict her freedom because it trusts the bond that has been built. And trust is magnetic. Psychologically, people attach more deeply to what they freely choose than to what they are pressured to keep. When a woman feels free with a man, when she feels expanded rather than constrained, her desire stabilizes instead of scattering. Freedom does not make her wander. It makes her stay, because staying feels like alignment rather than obligation. This is where many men sabotage themselves. They confuse exclusivity with security. They try to lock in outcomes instead of deepening connection. But security is not created by rules. It is created by emotional significance. When a woman feels emotionally significant to a man who is grounded, present, and self-respecting, she internalizes that bond. She carries it with her. It becomes part of her identity. Making a woman feel irreplaceable does not mean telling her she is the only one. Words alone mean very little. It means relating to her as an individual, not as a role. You see her patterns. You recognize her emotional rhythms. You respond to who she is, not who you want her to be. That level of attunement communicates, you are not interchangeable here. And that message lands far deeper than possessive reassurance ever could. Philosophically, this speaks to a deeper truth about human connection. We do not belong to each other, we meet each other, and when the meeting is authentic, sustained, and grounded, it becomes meaningful. Meaning is what creates commitment, not fear of replacement. A man who understands this does not compete with other men. He does not compare himself. He does not try to eliminate options. He becomes an option that feels fundamentally different, calm instead of chaotic, clear instead of confusing, grounded instead of reactive. Over time, difference becomes preference, and preference becomes loyalty. There is also a quiet confidence in allowing someone to choose you daily. You are not clinging to certainty. You are embodying value. That posture alone elevates how you are perceived. When a woman senses that a man would still be whole without her, but chooses to be with her anyway, she feels desired without feeling trapped. That is the sweet spot. This does not mean emotional distance. It means emotional maturity. You express care without surveillance. You show affection without dependency. You invite closeness without demanding it. That combination signals strength, not indifference. And strength, when paired with emotional intelligence, creates deep attraction. Over time, the woman who feels irreplaceable stops scanning the environment, not because she is afraid of losing you, but because she does not want to lose what the connection represents. Other men may offer novelty. Few offer coherence. Few offer peace. Few offer depth without pressure. So reflect on this carefully. Are you trying to secure her behavior? Or are you cultivating a bond she would not want to walk away from? Because the man who makes a woman feel free while remaining deeply connected becomes unforgettable. And once a woman feels both free and chosen, Loyalty stops being negotiated and starts being natural.